Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody is doing well. I wish I could do this in person, but I think we are doing virtual. Virtual has its own benefits. As you know, anybody from any time zone can join with their pleasure. Anyway, hopefully we can be in person setting next year. This is a very timely topic we're going to talk about. Uh, Key message is I think we need to develop a collaborative ecosystem to harness the accelerating or commercial manufacturing of novel vaccine and therapeutic. Over next 20 minutes or so, I'll go over some of the examples, why we want to do it, how we can do it, and what can we benefit from it as it happens in the future. So as you know, over last year, uh, there has been significant development into the various modalities that happened. And one of the area that is very interesting is the reason we want to have a collaborative ecosystem is we're entering into the new era of biomanufacturing. And to harness all the fruits and benefits of this, we need to approach the biomanufacturing, specifically collaboration, is a little bit more proactively and vibrantly. One of the reasons, and you can see it's the trend of manufacturing, is you can see the launches have been increasing. So in 2020, there are almost 58 new molecular entity. Out of those, 18 biologic molecules were approved by US FDA. Before that, there were 48 new molecular entities, 10 biologics were approved. That means all of those needs to be manufactured and marketed over next few years. And if you look at the pipeline, more and more pipeline is happening. So that the clinical pipeline, preclinical pipeline is full of the new molecules. The second trend is new modalities. I think we'll go over the next slide. What are those new modalities? And we all know cell and gene therapy, mRNA. Those are all maturing pretty fast. There a lot of work has been going on in that area. So how do we make sure that we have a system in place to take those new modalities to the commercialization process? And for that, we need a robust manufacturing. The third trend is all process performance. What I mean by process performance, that everybody is focused on not only just developing new molecule, but also looking at how do we improve the process and make the processes a lot more robust and intensified. For example, the MAP process used to be 3 grams per liter, or few years ago, now we're looking at about 5 to 10 grams per liter yield from cell culture, and how do we utilize that enhanced yield into the different processes of the MAP processes. Finally, we all know supply chain. Like this year, we have seen number of disruption into the supply chain of various material. It does not only apply to few exotic material, but only also for very commonly available or commonly used material. So that means we have to bring agility and resilience to our supply chain. And finally, the use of digital technologies. This is based on Industry 4.0, how we can use digital technologies to make the entire process workflow a lot more efficient. The one way the digital technology can be efficient is most digital technologies require data. And where the data come from? Data can come from internal processes, but also can come from other ecosystem. So if you have a supplier, manufacturer, and other ecosystem in place, we can actually harness all the data that's available to make the digital technologies much more useful. The second reason that we want to have effective collaboration system is the biopharma R&D landscape changing significantly. We as Avantar are involved in a lot of these activities. The one area is source of R&D. So it's no longer just academic or government or the large pharma companies. There are a number of small companies, innovation hub, number of offshoot from the universities, government labs are churning out significant learning and significant new understanding of biology, chemistry, and engineering. That is leading to enormous growth in the new platforms. Old days, there's be only small molecule mAb or recombinant protein. Now we're looking at viral vectors platform for gene therapy, cell therapy, mRNA, siRNA, and among many others. And then finally, the disease area. So we are targeting the disease areas, those were unimaginable before. Not only those are benefiting the patient, but also reducing the burden on overall healthcare system. And many companies like Avant are involved in this ecosystem. So if we develop a ecosystem of collaboration for manufacturing, commercial manufacturing, we can learn from all of those things happening very early on and get ready, get prepared to do what we want to do. And that means accelerate the new modalities, accelerate the new molecule, and provide on time those molecules to the patients and the world. So these are some of the things we already know. This is how the platform are evaluating. The only point here is that if you look at the things, acceleration of understanding of the biology, we have made significant progress in last 20 years. So many of the things were quite a bit mysterious 20 years ago. Now there are a number of things, but all the tools and technologies that scientists have available to use in a lab, and all the tools and technologies, including digital, AI, and others, enabling us to develop the viral vector, cell therapy, mRNA. And the most important things to note, the acceleration of it. So these are all accelerating pretty fast because we are developing the biology, understanding of biology very well. Other thing happening is there is sort of convergence of the biology, other scientific field, and engineering and computer. That convergence is leading to acceleration of these technologies. And to do well, to that actually proven into the current situation that we are in. I hope many of you have taken the vaccine, and most of you might have taken the mRNA vaccine. One of the two mRNA vaccines are developed, are commercially available to, at least in the US. This does not happen overnight. I know we think that it really happens speedily over the period of months where we got approved. However, there are a lot of hard work has been done since early 1990s or 80s to bring those DNA understanding of the mRNA. Now we're bearing the fruit. How this happens in overall in the time frame that we expected to happen is another story. So if we look at the mRNA vaccine that we have for COVID, it took only months to the COVID-19 has been identified until the real work started. If you compare that to traditionally, the most of the work happens in a sequential fashion. So you do spend some discovery, preclinical, and go one-on-one. And then that takes years. The reason for that is one of the main reason is the risk. Everybody want to manage the risk to development. As we all know, the drug development process is quite expensive. So there's a risk management involved. And then to manage the risk, nobody builds the manufacturing plant before the phase 1 is available. However, in mRNA space, there are a lot of collaboration happen between the government, the industry, and the supplier partnership to basically create a head start. So while everybody is doing the development, there was also the work happening on the mRNA work. So decade of vaccine research happened. Participants enrolled in the trials quickly. So we had 30,000 people enrolled in a month's period of time. And the building of the facilities, manufacturing facility, parallelly initiated. There are also regulatory group, a lot of regulatory agencies played very well their work and their expedited review. As a result, we have gotten vaccine pretty fast approved within 3 months. However, as this is happening, this created a more problem, challenges, because even if you get a vaccine, our goal is not to basically get the vaccine approved. The goal was mostly to distribute the vaccine to everybody. Now, once you get a vaccine approved, what are the challenges that comes in along? And since the mRNA is very new modalities, there was no really built up facilities to supply billions of doses that we needed. So one only way it can happen is through effective collaboration of everybody from supplier to manufacturer to uh, the agencies that were involved in delivering those vaccines. So companies like Avantor brings a number of tools and technologies to the table. Uh, because of those tools and technologies that we bring, we can accelerate collaboratively, we can accelerate some of the requirement for those materials, consumables, anything that's required. As we all have seen from last year, that innovation is not only in the new product. So we can have many companies, small companies, or many companies that develop unique product, but there is another aspects of innovation, which is supply chain. So how do we get the material that is available on time, on place for the materials to be used in the manufacturing? So we have, as Avantor and many other companies, have a global distribution and supply chain network, which is our core capabilities, in addition to our product service offering. Finally, as I mentioned very early on, we are engaged in the R&D ecosystem in the beginnings, where we are working with R&D labs who are working with the new modalities, and we are working also working on the manufacturing process development at lab scale. So we have all the technical expertise. My team has a more technical expertise that we can bring to bear whenever these things happen. And that's what actually has happened, whereas the mRNA was commercially prepared to manufacture at large scale, the companies like Avantor has collaborated quite well. So there are some lessons learned from these activities that we did for last year or so. What can be done? How the supplier can help to address the scale up and commercialization challenges. And these are some of the challenges. These are not all list of exhaustive challenges, but these are the few of those I can think about. The one is the raw material availability. So most of these new molecules, new entities, new modalities are not being scaled up before. That means people have used any material available in the lab to get it proven, get it to manufacture. Now we need to take the same raw material that has to meet some quality system requirement, that has to meet the capacity requirement to have forecasted need. Typically, when we are developing typical drug, it will maybe require about 50,000, 100,000 doses per quarter or something like that. Now we're looking at billions of doses. So how do we create a system where those raw material available? The second challenge is number of manufacturing processes require single-use assemblies, and we are all seeing how the single-use assembly supply chain has been tight. So the challenge there is designing up new assemblies. Those are a lot more robust and easy to manufacture. If we draw exactly the same way that we have done before, we might have taken more time to assemble those or more time to supply those. And the final challenge that we have seen is that use of new non-standard raw material, which is key. We need to use those raw material as needed. However, sourcing of those raw material from acceptable sources is critical. If we cannot get the raw material that is acceptable, and we cannot demonstrate it to have no significant impact, quality impact, either on process, either on the molecule to be developed, that everything will be delayed for certain times. So how can we overcome those challenges early on? So one of the lessons we have learned is that we will always see these challenges: scale up, technology transfer, regulatory consideration, and commercialization. So one approach could be get prepared early on development. So engage with your partners, uh, any stakeholders very early on in the development cycle, so that by the time you get to the scale up part, technology transfer part, we have at least have a solution ready. May not be completely implemented, but at least there is some readiness to the solution. So as I mentioned before, this is the mRNA workflow, how the mRNA, and in this area, number of people can start the mRNA work, mRNA from DNA template to drug product manufacturing, how the supplier can help. mRNA workflow is pretty new. The lab and other molecular biology lab has been doing this for some time. However, it has not been scaled up to manufacture billions of doses in a month's period of time. As you can see, there are many, many unique materials used in mRNA workflow, including single-use system. For example, it uses lipids for lipid nanoparticles. Those lipids are not that easily available or not easily scalable. So how can we manufacture those lipids to able to make the hundreds of millions up to billions of doses? Second, there are some of the critical raw material, enzymes, resins, and finally even the fill and finish. So if you have effective supplier collaboration, we can actually overcome these challenges as they appear during the scale up or commercialization steps. So finally, I have a summary slide. So how do we get to effective collaboration? So one of the things we learned from the engaging with everybody is about engaging with supplier and manufacturer as early as possible is critical, because as we have seen many times, there are certain new things happens, and if everybody is aware of the things to come, then we can develop such facilities and capabilities that needed to ensure that we have the materials and other systems available. The second thing is ensuring alignment. Having the mutual attributes and quality standard understood between the supplier and the manufacturer is critical. As you know, there are very limited regulatory standards for many of these new modalities. There are many standards are being developed, and they are also varied when you look at the globally. So there may be one expectation in the US versus Europe versus in Asia. So how do we ensure that we have alignment in all the things? So any work that we do is fruitful and brings the molecule to the commercial manufacturing. Then third thing is make sure we have a program, we have a shared characterization understanding of the critical quality attribute of the raw material. We have seen number of times they'll be saying that, okay, we need to get this raw material, but there was no definition of what does raw material is. Raw material basically is not just a chemical, but what are the critical attributes that will have impact on the performance of the molecule as well as the process. I understand sometimes everything may not be available or will be visible or may not be studied. However, if you engage early on, there could be some illustration of this, what is needed to happen. And finally, very, very, very important is the setting fit for use specification. Many of these materials, those new modalities use new material, may not have compendial requirement, may not have compendia for those products. So how do we create a specification that is fit for use? Even if there is a compendia, those compendia may not be suitable for this particular application. We have seen number of cases where the compendia is typically wider spec range, whereas is required for a application. So, for example, if you are developing some of the cell and gene therapy, compendia may not have requirement for endotoxin or other bioburden, or mycoplasma requirement, but those particular process we require those requirement for mycoplasma bioburden. So if we engage early on, we can actually create those specifications that allow us to develop the robust drug product. And also it removes some of the uncertainty from the process as we go along. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention. I will stay on if anybody has any question, comments, suggestions.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nandi, for that excellent presentation. I'm just going to kick off with the questions. Here we go. So what are the key elements of fruitful collaboration?
As we were talking about, the one of the very, very critical factor is communication. So open communication between the collaborating parties. So everything needs to be visible. So we have a good communication, understanding whatever is needed. The second is what are the ultimately we want to get out of the collaboration. So having formalized workflow is more important. And then finally, the identified team who is working on the molecule from the manufacturer side, but also supplier side. So there is a very good the alignment between the team. They understand what is needed, what is expected, and what needs to be delivered.
Fantastic. And we've had one come in that someone said, great presentation. Could you elaborate more about biopharmaceuticals and how they're defined by process, not the product?
So what I mean by the biopharmaceutical, because of these complex molecules, they are not really, you cannot use any one analytical tool to completely, or few analytical tools to completely have it defined well. So because of the complexity, there are many, many changes, small changes happens. You cannot measure by simple analytical tools. So hence your process, how we run the process. For example, if you're running the map process, they're not everything you can control, you can detect everything that happens. There are small changes can happen and those changes cannot be detected. By the process, control of the process, you are ensuring that you're making molecule that was characterized at day 1 exactly the same as the day 5. So it's basically you control the quality of the product, not by the measuring at the end what you manufacture, but controlling your process. And which is more critical for complex molecule like all biopharmaceuticals, proteins, monoclonal antibodies, as well as new cell and gene therapy products.
Brilliant, thank you. And someone's also asked, what is the biggest bottleneck in raw materials at the moment that limits future drug development?
So the biggest bottleneck is actually the supply chain inconsistency. So, the bottleneck is there's not enough raw material supply chain established, which is very robust at this time, because as you have seen, everybody has experienced some of the issues in the raw material. So one of the reasons this happening is because all these raw materials has been used. There are some common raw material has been used from many of the processes, and nobody has anticipated that the vaccine word, mRNA word, or other vaccine word take up so much demand out of the raw material. Since those are taken so much demand out of the raw material, we have supply chain constraint. So now the question is that how to build the capacity as fast as they can. The companies like Avantor and others have responded well and adding the capacity, adding the by various means, not only the adding the capacity by building new plant, but before that, looking at the process, looking at the people, looking at every aspect, how do we increase the capacity. However, in the pharma world, you cannot just make the product and get it available. There's always these validation, stability, and other things involved. You cannot just manufacture and supply. So there are a number of things have to happen. So there's always a lag about at least 3 to 6 months where before we can get completely out of the supply chain situation.
Fantastic, thank you. And another question we've got here is that how can a manufacturer and supplier start a collaboration? What have you got to do initially?
So the initially, basically the manufacturer had to understand what are the things that they're actually having problems. So sometimes what happens, the manufacturer sees things, okay, oh, this is the challenge, but I really don't have to worry about it. This is like a phase 2 issue or commercial issue. I'll just go right now and deal with it later on. What I would recommend is to engage. Even if you see the problem, even if you know you're going to go to phase 2, phase 3, or commercial manufacturing, you engage early with the respective supplier, respective partner, to be able to engage with them and understand what they have done. Because there may be a possibility that your supply partner or others may already have been working on this with somebody else in similar problem, similar situation. And by going to them, you might create a sort of a economy of scale for them to pay more attention to everything else. If one person goes with one little thing, they may not pay that much attention. But if you have collectively, if you see it, there may be sort of a buildup of a robust business plan for them to execute. The second thing is create a technical to technical connection. So try to engage. There's a tendency that sometimes everybody is busy, so we don't engage technically to technically. And then finally, most important is to identify whatever weakness or gap you see in your development program. So, and make sure when you identify the gap, engage with somebody who can help you to address those gaps. Thanks.